So we've successfully built assignments, and now it's time for us to look at the other kind of content we might want to create for our students, quizzes. So starting on the home page, I'm going to go ahead and click on quizzes here in the left-hand navigation. That's going to bring me here. Now, I currently don't have any quizzes built, but this is the quizzes landing page. So I can search for a specific quiz if I want to. I've got the plus button, and there's something else that we'll talk about in a little while here. If I click on the cog, you'll notice I also have the option to manage my question banks. So in a later tutorial, I'm going to talk about importing question banks and then what you can do with the questions from those question banks. But for now, let's go ahead and get started by creating our first quiz. And to do that, you're just going to click the plus button. And that's going to bring up this. Okay, so again, very familiar to what we've seen before. We have seen this everywhere else with the rich content editor. So let's go ahead, we're just going to name this quiz. We're going to call this an example quiz. Now, it's really important to note that this first page that we're working in here is just the details for the quiz. The actual questions that we're going to access and utilize are right here. Okay, so I've called it an example quiz, and I'm going to say, please answer the questions on this quiz in the time limit allowed. You have 20 minutes to complete this quiz. I'm going to go ahead and make it bold. And then let's go ahead and we're going to make that red so that students really know, okay, I've got 20 minutes there. All right, so you got 20 minutes to complete the quiz. Quiz type, you can choose practice quiz, which is not graded, graded quiz, which is, graded survey, and ungraded survey. Okay, so I'm going to do graded quiz because that's what I want it to be. And then assignment group, I'm going to put this into lab quizzes. And then here's where you can actually define the parameters for your quizzes. So you can say, okay, I want the answers to be shuffled. Do you want a time limit? I'm going to say yes, I want 20 minutes. Do you want to allow the students to take multiple attempts? You can say yes, and if you check on that, it's going to then ask you which of the quiz scores you want to keep. So I'll say highest, and I will allow the students to take this quiz twice. Okay, obviously if you don't want this, just uncheck it and you're good to go. Okay. Let the students see their quiz responses. When are you going to let them see it? Are you going to let them see it only after their last attempt? Only once after each attempt? Let them correct them, or only after their last attempt? So are you going to let them correct it? And if so, then is it going to be after their last attempt? I'm not going to let them correct it, but I will let them see only after their last attempt. Okay. Then you can choose, do you want to show one question at a time, and do you want to lock those questions, or do you want your students to have access to all the questions up front? I'm going to give my students access to all the questions up front. Then you can also determine how to regulate the student access to your quiz. So do you want an access code? You can give your students an access code that you create for the quiz. So if I wanted to give the access code 12345, which obviously I'm not going to do, I could delete that. You can also choose where students have to be to take this quiz. So if you know that the computers in a computer cluster on campus have certain IP addresses, you would get the IP addresses for all of those computers, and you could literally then state only computers with these IP addresses are allowed to take the quiz. Okay, so I've set up all my stuff. So that's the very basics content setup in terms of getting your quiz ready to go. And if I wanted to, I could go ahead and save it for now. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and save this example quiz as is right now. I know we haven't written any questions yet, but I figured this is a good way for us to just see the general setup of a quiz and then where we can go from here. Okay, so in the next tutorial, we're going to actually start building questions into this quiz.